may be converted into general anesthesia by the anesthetist, and if it is not required, then proper sedation and analgesia is maintained by the anesthetist. This monitored anesthesia care is a new term. It is coined a few years back. Previously, it was called conscious sedation. What is conscious sedation? Patient is sedated and conscious simultaneously. How can it be possible? It is minimally depressed level of consciousness that retain the patient's ability to independently and continuously maintain an airway and respond appropriately to physical stimulation and verbal command. So patient consciousness is slightly depressed, and he is, so that his anxiety level is decreased, and he is sedated, but not to that extent he is not able to maintain his respiration and airway problems are there. So he is mildly sedated. In that state, he will cooperate well with the surgeon and will not feel much pain. Analgesics are given separately. First of all, you must know sedation and analgesia both are different things. Most of the drugs, though those are analgesics, they are sedatives also. But for providing analgesia, we have separate drugs. For sedation, we have separate drugs. So we should know the content of the drug. What drug we are giving, it is analgesic or sedative or has both the content, both the qualities. So according to that, we administer drug to the patient. Monitored anesthesia care is as you see, from MAC to general anesthesia. MAC is conscious sedation, in which patient maintains his airway, his gag reflex, responds to verbal command, responds to pain. But in deep sedation, it is not MAC. MAC is not deep sedation. In deep sedation, he is not able to maintain his airway. He may not respond to verbal commands also. He is not easily arousable. He may have loss of protective reflexes. And in general anesthesia, as you all know, there is loss of all type of reflexes, protective reflexes, airway maintenance, response to physical stimulation or verbal command, all are not there. The goals of MAC are to maintain patient safety and sense of well-being, to alleviate pain, minimize discomfort, to minimize psychological responses of anxiety, pain, and memory. To alleviate memory, that is called amnesia. So all these things should be minimized. They are not completely vanished. He will have some memory, but during the procedure he is comfortable, he is cooperating with the surgeon, but not having any anxiety or pain. To control behavior, if patient is having some psychiatric problem or is very much anxious, then in MAC patient is he is not moving here and there and static, and the surgeon can do his work properly. And for most important thing in MAC is to return to the pre-procedural state. MAC is usually given in daycare surgeries, where short procedures are there on OPD basis. Patient will be discharged after 1 to 2 hours from the hospital. So we want him to regain consciousness and do his all functions as he was doing before. He may be some drowsy. He must be slightly drowsy, but he should be able to walk with some help and go back to his home, and he should not be hospitalized for long time. So reversal to the pre-procedural state is very important. That's why the selection of drugs for MAC is very important. Which are drugs which are short acting and all is important while giving MAC to the patient. And as in any other type of anesthesia, we do pre-operative assessment. all the blood investigations, history of chronic disease and all, everything is same as you give general anesthesia to any patient. Because any patient who comes in care of an anesthetist should know everything about the patient's disease or his morbidity. So proper pre-anesthetic assessment is there, and this helps us to identify whether the patient will, how much he will cooperate, how he will cooperate well or not. Any cardiorespiratory disease is there, then there is good indication for MAC, because he may not tolerate general anesthesia. Such patients may not tolerate general anesthesia, so MAC is good. But during MAC, the responsibility of anesthetist is much increased. As in general anesthesia, his airway is in our control. We intubate the patient and give all the inhaled anesthetics and whatever. But in MAC, we are not intubating the patient. So if the problem arises, we have to be very much alert, and we are be able to manage the problem well. Like in old age patients, the MAC should be given with very much caution, because they are very much sensitive to sedative drugs. So in such cases, you should be very much vigilant. Patient having persistent cough or orthopnea may not, they are not suitable candidates for MAC, because they will not lay they will not stay mobile and allow the surgeon to do their job. So such patients should not be selected for MAC. But patient having comorbidity like cardiorespiratory disease and all that, they are good patient for MAC. If it is possible to give some local anesthesia and MAC, so that is better than general anesthesia for such patients. Techniques, the endpoints of the MAC are providing patient comfort, maintaining cardiorespiratory stability, improving operating conditions, prevent recall of unpleasant perioperative events. This is always the goal of the anesthetist, whether giving MAC or regional anesthesia or general anesthesia. MAC usually involves IV administration of drugs alone or supplemental to local or regional anesthesia. Drugs should allow rapid and complete recovery and minimal nausea, vomiting, because patient should be comfortable in post-operative period also. He will be having nausea, vomiting, shivering, and that will that is not allowable in for the patient, as he will go home and there he will face problem that it will not be good for the patient. Level of sedation that allows verbal communication is optimal. Increased patient agitation may be due to pain or anxiety. If patient is very much agitated, he may be having pain or anxiety, so you have to give sedation in large doses. Causes of agitation, there are a lot of causes, not only the pain, but other causes for agitation may be hypoxia, hypercarbia, impending local anesthetic toxicity, cerebral hypoperfusion. But all these things can be managed with good monitoring. You have monitors in operation theatre. You can very well monitor his oxygen saturation and tidal CO2 levels and blood pressures and avoid these complications. Other which are not usually neglected things are there, like bladder distension. Patient has not voided preoperatively and his bladder is full, so his sympathetic activity is increased and he will be irritable. Even those patients who are under general anesthesia, completely their reflexes are obtunded, you can say. They will have tachycardia because of bladder distension. So we catheterize the patient for long-term long duration surgeries. But in these short procedures also, we should ask the patient to void, then come to the operation theatre to avoid such type of complications. Hypothermia, hyperthermia, pruritus, nausea, positional discomfort, tourniquet inflation. These are all things which can give anxiety to the patient and he will be restless and agitated. This is the alertness scale. In score 5, patient responds normally to verbal commands. His speech is normal, facial expression is normal, and eye opening is wide eye. He can open his eyes widely. This is score 5. And as you go by 4, 3, 2, 1, he is sluggish in response. In 1, he does not respond to mild prodding or shaking. Sometimes we pinch the patient for response. In 1 grade, he will not even will not give any response to pinching also. So from this scale, we can assess the sedation score of the patient, how much sedated he is. And examples of procedures that are best done under MAC. I told you endoscopic procedures such as gastroduodenoscopy, colonoscopy, sigmoidoscopy. These can be done with MAC or even without MAC. Mostly they are done without MAC. But when the patient is very old or very young, then they want to monitored anesthesia care, or he is having some comorbidity, then. Otherwise, if young patient who is very anxious, he is having anxiety, then they ask for MAC. Minor surgical procedures performed under local anesthesia also requires MAC most of the times. Painful diagnostic or treatment procedures such as bone marrow aspiration, trephine biopsy, change of burn dressing. When the burn is more than 60-70%, they do dressing it under anesthesia. Sometimes, mostly MAC, or sometimes we give full anesthesia also for burn dressings. Special situations such as IV administration of contrast medium in a patient susceptible for anaphylaxis, they ask for monitored anesthesia care, because in presence of anesthetist, any complication, whether it is anaphylaxis or toxicity or some vasovagal bradycardia, they all can be managed very well. Now the drugs for giving MAC. You should understand the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic properties of the anesthetic drugs, and I will tell you in future slides how can you estimate which drug is good and which you can apply to the patient. Continuous infusions are always superior to intermittent boluses, because we want less fluctuation in drug concentration and prompt recovery. Accumulation of drugs in poorly perfused fatty tissue during a long case can contribute to a prolonged recovery. As you have all read in pharmacology, this drug distribution, drug elimination, drug accumulation. The accumulation mostly occurs in adipose tissue, fatty tissue, and as they are less perfused, so the drug wash off from that site is slow. So it will drugs that are mostly fat bound, oil based drugs, their elimination is slow because they will bind to fatty tissue and they will be eliminated slowly, and that will result in prolonged recovery. It is difficult to predict duration of action based on elimination half-life alone. As you all know, T half of the drug, as you have read before, but only T half is not a good predictor for giving this MAC. We should see the context-sensitive half-life. What is context-sensitive half-life? It describes the time required for the plasma drug concentration to decline by 50% after terminating an infusion of a particular duration. You give infusion of certain drug, and after stopping the drug, its effect remains half of its remains half in which time? That is the context-sensitive half-life. This will show that the drug will easily wash off, and this will result in early recovery from sedation of the patient. This context-sensitive half-life increases as the duration of infusion increases. It depends on the type of drug used as well as the duration of infusion given. If you give infusion for long duration, this CSHT will be more. It will take more time take more time to decline to 50% of the effect. There is no constant relationship between elimination half-life and this context-sensitive half-life. Fentanyl's elimination half-life is also shorter, but its CSHT is twice that of sufentanil. I will not go into much detail but I will give you superficial idea of all the things, as I will tell you about the drugs, but I will not tell you the doses, because you are not going to give them, and it will unnecessarily burden your mind. Another thing is effect site equilibration. Describes the time from rapid IV administration of a drug to its clinical effect, manifestation of the clinical effect. Time taken by between the administration of drug and its clinical effect. Half time of equilibration between drug concentration in the blood and drug effect is T half KEO. Smaller values correspond to rapidity of the onset. So T half KEO should be smaller, context sensitive half-life should be smaller. All these are those drugs having these things are better for giving MAC. Drugs with shorter values are thiopentone, propofol, L-fentanyl. Thiopentone and propofol are anesthetic drugs. L-fentanyl is an opioid, like fentanyl, L-fentanyl, sufentanil, they belong to the same class. Drugs with longer values are midazolam, sufentanil, fentanyl. These are also given, but depending upon the determining spacing. Mostly we give continuous infusions, but when the procedure is more painful, we can give in between boluses also. So shorter value of T half KEO is preferable, but in patients with low cardiac output, they will have slow onset of action. You should also consider the patient's comorbidity. So, patients having low cardiac output will have slow onset of action of the drug. And as we say, only single drug cannot provide proper anesthesia. We have to use combination of drugs that act synergistically, like opioids and benzodiazepine combination, to achieve the component of hypnosis, amnesia and analgesia. As we all know, benzodiazepines have hypnosis and amnesia, and they don't have analgesia. Analgesia is provided by the opioid. Now another thing is CPSS50. What is this? Plasma concentration at a steady state. Steady state required to abolish purposeful movement upon skin incision in 50% of patients. Okay. Plasma concentration at a steady state required to abolish purposeful movement upon skin incision in 50% of patients at that drug concentration are motionless, and surgeon is able to do surgery on that patient, because for surgery it is very necessary that patient should be immobile, should not move his limbs and other parts. Propofol, it has a context sensitive half-time that is short even after a prolonged infusion and a short effect site equilibration time. So propofol is ideal for giving MAC. As it doesn't possess analgesic properties, analgesia should be supplemented in form of opioids, or it can be given with local anesthesia. So some surgery which is performed under local anesthesia, for sedation we can use propofol additionally. Initial boluses are given, then they are maintained with intermittent injections or continuous infusion. Sometimes patient-controlled sedation is also given. We give some amount of sedative drug, then we give, just in previous lectures I have told you, patient-controlled anesthesia, patient-controlled analgesia. Same thing is there. Patient controlled pump is there. It is given to the patient, and according to his need, he presses the button of the so particular amount of drug is administered to the patient, and he can regulate his drug according to his requirement. But he can press in this way he can administer more drug, which is not necessary. He may have overdosage of the drug. So for that they have locking period. Like with fentanyl, they have 5-minute locking period. Before 5 minutes, he cannot again press the button. So in this way, patient safety is done through this PCAs. Remifentanil is also the opioid which can be given in MAC. They are all fentanyl, L-fentanyl, sufentanil, remifentanil. These are all short-acting opioids. And morphine, pethidine, they are longer-acting. So they are not given in daycare surgeries. And these are preferred: fentanyl, L-fentanyl, remifentanil. Another drug for this MAC is, as I've told you, one is propofol, benzodiazepine, these opioids. Another is alpha-2 agonist, dexmedetomidine and clonidine. In previous lectures, I have told you these alpha-2 agonists, they are very good as they provide sedation, analgesia, and this hypotension, bradycardia. Hypotension, bradycardia are their side effects, but they are sometimes they are of benefit also to patients who are having tachycardia. It is they can, with the dexmedetomidine it can be settled. Patient in hypertensive patients, their blood pressure can be controlled within normal limits. So dexmedetomidine is very good for giving this monitored anesthesia care. It provides this sedation and analgesia, and in post-operative period also it prevents post-operative nausea, vomiting, shivering, which is very common after any anesthetic procedure. Patient has slight shivering, and patient is quiet and calm in post-operative period also. So these are very good drugs. And as compared to propofol, propofol usually is associated with pain on injection. So it is not, this is not the case with dexmedetomidine. Analgesic properties in propofol are minimal, but in dexmedetomidine it has good analgesic property. Amnesic properties are good in propofol, but in dexmedetomidine amnesic property is less. But it provides good sedation. It is sufficient for the patient. Type of onset and typical administration, it is rapid onset, and dexmedetomidine takes up to 5 to 10 minutes for action. Propofol can be used by anesthetist only, but dexmedetomidine can be used by another, like physicians and ICU intensivist can also use this drug. Bradycardia is there with propofol and dexmedetomidine also, but with dexmedetomidine there is significant bradycardia, and dexmedetomidine infusion should not be used for continuously for more than 24 hours. Now coming to benzodiazepines, they are anxiolytic, amnestics, and hypnotic properties are there. And we use them. Midazolam is commonly used in daycare surgeries because diazepam is long acting, and the basic difference between midazolam and diazepam is oil based and midazolam is aqueous. So duration of action is midazolam is less, and well, for diazepam it is more, it is long acting. And metabolites of midazolam are inactive metabolites are there, whereas with diazepam it has active metabolites. That is also the reason for its longer action. And with benzodiazepine, psychomotor impairment following conscious sedation techniques using midazolam are for long period. The patient is groggy for long time, but they are used in combination with anesthetic drugs and opioids for MAC. CPSS 50 decreases significantly as a function of age. In old age patient, this dose of benzodiazepine should be reduced up to half or threefold. Just a minute. So, in old age patient, you should be cautious while using these sedatives. This is a comparison of diazepam and midazolam. Flumazenil is a benzodiazepine antagonist, and when you suspect some overdosage of benzodiazepine, you can give flumazenil because overdose will lead to respiratory depression and decreased consciousness. So, to avoid respiratory depression, we can antagonize the effect of benzodiazepines with flumazenil. As I have already told you, clonidine and dexmedetomidine, these are good. Clonidine is longer acting, so we prefer dexmedetomidine, that is alpha 2 agonist, for this conscious sedation. To ketamine, ketamine is an anesthetic drug, and this is also given, but low dose ketamine can be given for sedation, and it has excellent analgesic properties. It is previously it was used very much. Nowadays people are not liking this drug, but it was a perfect combination. It has amnesia, analgesia, hypnosis, and vitals were also maintained. It increases heart rate and blood pressure. So there is no risk of patient going into bradycardia or hypotension, and it was considered very safe. But there was only one disadvantage, that it was CNS stimulant, so it it provoked convulsions sometimes or rigidity. That was only the only problem with this drug. Otherwise, it is very good. Nowadays, it is preferred in pediatric patients, and also in low doses, it can give only sedation. For the short procedures, we give it in low doses. The patient is still and easily arousable after surgery. Opioids, I have already told you. And opioids are used in which conditions? Where initial injection of local anesthetic has to be given. So before that, we give opioids so that he may have less pain. Like in retrobulbar blocks are given in eye surgeries, so we can give opioids pre-hand and beforehand, and can avoid pain during this injection. Patient discomfort unrelated to the procedure. Sometimes patient is undergoing surgery on a limb, but he is having some problem in his spine, so he is not able to lay supine. In such cases, we can provide sedation and so that patient will remain still during surgery. Uncomfortable position. Sometimes surgery is done in lateral positions, sometimes in prone positions. The patient is not very much comfortable in these positions. So we can provide this sedation so that he is comfortable and not aware of this pain. Propofol injections are given, and pneumatic tourniquet pain. Tourniquet pain is very severe. It is ischemic type of pain, and mostly when they do surgery, they provide local anesthesia at the site, but tourniquet is applied at the upper portion of the arm, so it will give pain to the patient. To avoid that pain, we can give some systemic analgesics and sedatives. In pediatric patients, we usually prefer syrups like chloral hydrate, paraldehyde, diazepam syrups. These can be given half to 1 hour before surgery because it takes long time for onset of action through this oral route. So we give these types of syrups beforehand and then can do the surgery on the patient or any procedure. Even for doing CT scan of the patient, we give these syrups, and when patient is sedated, we can do CT scan. Otherwise, patient will not live during the procedure. So we have these drugs for giving MAC, benzodiazepines. We have midazolam and diazepam. For opioids, we have enfentanil, fentanyl, remifentanil. In anesthetic drugs, we have propofol and ketamine, and this alpha-2 agonist we have. So, what is the advantage of patient-controlled sedation and analgesia? It increases patient satisfaction. Patient knows somebody is there who is looking after him because surgeon is busy in doing the surgery. He is washed, he is wearing green gown and gloves. So if patient has some problem, he is not able to load the injection and give because he is following all the sterile precautions. So it is the duty of the anesthetist for the comfort and for the well-being of the patient during any type of anesthesia, general anesthesia, local anesthesia, and when he is called upon for giving monitored anesthesia care, so he is taking the full responsibility of the maintaining the vitals of the patient. So in this, the patient is also confident that nothing bad will happen to him, and surgeon is also confident. That's why they call anesthesia person for these procedures. This eliminates unpredictable variability in dose requirement between patients. Every patient, they have different dose requirements. The patient which will be sedated with 2 milligram of midazolam, some patient will require 3 milligram. And as I told you, in old patient, even 1 milligram will cause sedation. So it depends upon the patient, and we titrate the dose accordingly. As we all know, these sedative drugs, they are respiratory depressants. They causes muscle relaxation of respiratory muscles also are relaxed, so there are more chances of sedation and loss of protective reflexes. So these drugs should be titrated accordingly, and according to body weight they are given mostly, but comorbidity and age of the patient should also be. And complete recovery of swallowing reflex occurs 15 minutes after the return of consciousness from propofol anesthesia. In all these drugs, propofol is the best. It has very rapid onset and rapid recovery. Even with fentanyl and alfentanil, patient remains sedated for about 1 to 2 hours in postoperative period, which is not required sometimes, but with propofol there is very early recovery, but only propofol is not sufficient, so we give in combination with benzodiazepines or with opioids. It is consciousness is depressed up to 2 hours after midazolam. These are the rough guidelines. Protective pharyngeal and laryngeal reflexes are depressed by sedation, debilitated patients in advanced stage, or these lead to. So we should supplement oxygen when we give then his oxygen saturation should be maintained. And more than oxygen saturation, his carbon dioxide levels are more important. In hypoventilation, the alveolar CO2 is not washed off properly. Patient may have hypercarbia. So to avoid these things, oxygen administration is necessary. And it is very necessary when patient is old and comorbid conditions are there. And for monitoring the patient during MAC, what monitoring we can do? The basic monitoring we do in all patients is done in these patients also, like ECG, SpO2, blood pressure. And you should communicate and observe the patient. Communicate. Are you okay? Are you having any problem? Are you comfortable? You can ask the patient. He will reply you. And observation. For observation, you see his chest movements, whether they are adequate or not for proper inspiration and expiration. And sometimes he clench his fist when he feels severe pain. He may not complain, but by his mannerisms, you can assess that he is having some problem. So you should be very vigilant. Preparedness to recognize and treat local anesthesia toxicity. and you should monitor his vitals for any untoward effects. Visual assessment of rate, depth and pattern of breathing, palpation of arterial pulses is there, peripheral perfusion by capillary refill time, pallor, shivering, cyanosis. These can all you can assess by your eyes. No monitor is needed for these changes. Auscultation of heart sounds as you do in all the cases. Pulse oximetry, capnography, electrocardiography, temperature, these are all the same. And one thing I want to tell you, bispectral index. It is a parameter for assessing the depth of anesthesia. I don't know you have heard about it or not, but it is a very good parameter, bispectral index, BIS. It is short form is BIS. Um, it is the parameter for assessing the depth of anesthesia, awareness during anesthesia. It is rated from 0 to 100. At 100, patient is fully conscious. Are you listening, everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your name?
Ma'am,
Who
Sudhir
said
Kumar.
yes, ma'am? What's your name?
Sudhir Kumar.
Acha. So you should listen. Everybody should listen. You will may not understand 100% things, but at least you recall up to 30%. That will be okay for you. And if any short note comes in exam, you will be able to answer it.
Yes, ma'am.
So bispectral index, it is rated from 0 to 100. At 100, patient is fully conscious. At 0, he is deeply sedated. And for different, like for general anesthesia, BIS may be 40, 50. At 40 or 50, he is not able, he is having no awareness. He is completely unaware of his surroundings and anesthetized. But for MAC, we want BIS to be around 80, 60 to 80. At 80, patient is arousable, he recalls the things, he can respond to you, but he is sedated. That is what we want during MAC. If it goes down like 70, 60, at 60, sometimes patient is not arousable. He may not respond, or he may respond with slurred voice. He may not be open his eyes properly. So during this MAC, we want BIS to be 80. We have specialized monitors at our SIMS operation theatre also, which have this BIS. It is a very advanced feature, and we are monitoring these things. So in general anesthesia, it is not of much importance because we have monitored BIS during general anesthesia. It comes to 20, 40. That means patient is completely anesthetized with so much drugs we give, combination of drugs. But while giving total intravenous anesthesia and this MAC, we assess, and it is very good for indicating whether the patient is sedated or not, or how much arousable he is, how faster his recovery will be. If we want him to recover faster, his BIS should be around 70 to 80 in MAC cases. If you keep this BIS at 70 in general anesthesia, patient will have awareness during anesthesia, which is not allowable in such types, like in abdominal surgery, major surgeries. You want BIS to be less than 50. We don't want him to recall the things at that time. Okay, that is okay for short procedures where he has to go home after that and should not be dependent for his normal functions. So in this should be around 70 or 80. For MAC, this should be around 70 and 80. Now there are many studies. We can give combination of drugs for different procedures, and I will skip that. So I think you have understood this monitored anesthesia care. Any problem? Any questions? If you will ask questions, then I will be happy that you are listening properly and understanding the topic very much.